Food for thought. Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, former representative for the United States to the UN. She made her case to be the GOP presidential nominee in her CNN town hall last night. But what I saw, and I hope you will be able to appreciate, was a great example of the game on display. Okay? Exhibit A, immigration. Here's what the governor said.
When you get up in the morning, you get your coffee and you watch the news. When these ranchers get up in the morning, they get their coffee and they go see if anyone died trying to cross the fence. They pick up whatever little kids were left behind and they turn them over to Border Patrol. I met with multiple sheriffs and they said before 7 a.m. they round up illegal immigrants, the ones they can capture, they turn them over to Border Patrol. And then Border Patrol documents them and releases them until their court date years from now.
Now, here's the problem. That's not really the current state of play. And it's interesting that the governors seem to be suggesting that things are as bad as they've ever been, that rule changes haven't been recently implemented that helped. And I suggest overlooking the reality is intentional because that's how you play the game. Think about it. Why did the governor neglect to mention that the post-Title 42 ending parade of illegals never happened? Why doesn't she discuss why the numbers are down? And why isn't that some type of pivot point for her to make the case about how she can make some of the temporary changes that seem to be, by every measure, making a difference, make them permanent instead of temporary? And build on that to keep changing the current new rules, to make sure that things like, hey, you have to ask for asylum in the first new country you get to, not just here in the United States, become the rule, period. Why not? Instead, she talked more about what was wrong as if it's never changed. And you know that's not accurate. But the reason she did it is what I want you to see. All right, Nikki Haley's not alone. Most people, certainly on the right, talk about immigration this way. Why? Because the problem is what scares you, not arguing for solutions. And that is the game. She did it again with the trans issue. Listen.
The fact that we have gender pronoun classes in the military now. I mean, all of these things that are pushing what a small minority want on the majority of Americans, it's too much. It's too much. I mean, the idea that we have biological boys playing in girls' sports, it is the women's issue of our time.
The women's issue of our time, when reproductive rights were just taken away. One of the first times that we've seen a right taken from people by the Supreme Court in my lifetime. That's not the women's issue. Men playing on women's sports teams is the female issue of our time? My wife and daughters and sisters and mother don't agree. Do any of the females, do any of the men, does anybody who can think believe that? What is that? That's the game. Now, I'll tell you what's too much about the trans issue. It's all the attention that's given to it. You know how many people we're talking about? When you talk about the kids specifically, which was her context, 0.6% of our population. This bothers me more than all of the attention that we give to school shootings. Not that I don't care about school shootings. Of course I do. I'm a parent. I have warm blood flowing through my veins. Of course, I've cried as much as many of you or any of you, maybe more. But there's such a small little percentage of all the gun violence in this country that we just ignore. This is the same thing, okay? How many cases have we heard about of trans kids messing up sports? Less than like a dozen? I'm not saying that when it happens it doesn't matter, but as a national issue, as a main tentpole for a presidential run, to call it the women's issue of our time? Why is the governor so intent on saying it's forced on you? Arguably, she's one of the ones who's forcing the issue on you because it works in the game. It's scary to play with people and things that are different, especially to work on parents' concerns about their kids, that maybe their child could be brainwashed in a way that makes them gay, or even worse, God forbid, trans. Now look, I don't agree with those phobias. But you know what? That's my business. That's a matter of opinion. How you decide to feel about people who are different than you are, that's your deal, okay? However, how you treat those people as a society under law becomes all of our deal. Haley is playing the culture war game, and that is a matter of fact, not opinion. And it is a part of the game that I believe is ugly and counterproductive. Not that you shouldn't have feelings or thoughts or arguments about trans or anything that you want, but to put it front and center as the women's issue of our time? Come on, man. That's the game. Then there was the abortion issue, which I refer to as reproductive rights, because I think it's going to wind up going beyond just the procedure of abortion. And the governor was asked a question and said, I'm not answering that, and I'll tell you when I'll answer, whether I'm in favor of a 6-week ban. Listen.
If a 6-week ban theoretically came to your desk, would you sign it?
But why? I will answer that when you ask Kamala and Biden if they would agree to 37 weeks, 38 weeks, 39 weeks. Then I'll answer your question. No one asked them that. No one asked them how late they're willing to go.
Look, answer the question, okay? Because they set up it's the game. She set up a false premise. You haven't asked them. Jake Tapper's not standing there with those other people. He's standing there with you. And her conclusion is therefore that the president and the vice president want abortion until the kid comes out and is picking a grade school. They're still coming after it in 2nd grade. Why? Because it's scary. Because absurd notions sell. Now, she knows, very, very smart person, right? Very educated, very sophisticated. She knows that both of them go with the Roe standard, which is viability, which, by the way, is really one of the only scientific aspects of this entire debate. And it's so interesting, if not altogether ironic, that it's the one part that's been dismissed the most quickly. The only part that had any science to it, right? Because it's all about feeling, not fact. She plays it as if they're fine with abortion forever for 2 reasons. One, Biden's not doing a great job with messaging. Consistency, repeating what you want people to think is key in politics. The second reason is that harping on problems and fears works better than offering solutions. And if you get people to believe that any Democrat or anybody wants a baby at 40 weeks to be able to be killed, you're in good shape of beating that person in an election. Now, hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.